Let's talk about the ugly side of real estate investing, evictions. Now, the way I look at evictions is it's no different than running any other business where you have a cost associated that we don't like, right? If you own a restaurant and your grill breaks down or your employees don't show up to work, it's kind of just associated with the beast and the nature. Evictions shouldn't really scare you, and I know a lot of people say, well, what happens if someone doesn't pay rent, man? I'm going to be screwed, and unfortunately it is an ugly side, and it's not pleasant for the landlord, it's not pleasant for the tenant. So here's some of the things that I have done when this situation arises. First and foremost, you should try to stop it as much as possible by placing good tenants in and screening better. You shouldn't just do it with a handshake and I trust you, right? Obviously, you want to have your contracts in place and all that good stuff. I'm going to take California as an example because that's where majority of my holdings are. I've branched off really well into the Midwest, which, obviously California is, very hard to evict. But they're still fair in some aspects, like if someone's not paying rent and, you want to get them out. First and foremost, what I've learned through the decade plus that I've been investing is you shouldn't just do a handshake and hey, I trust this guy, I'm gonna let him in. Obviously, get a contract. Basic 101. One thing that really helps is when you're screening for a tenant, you want quality tenants. So what makes a quality tenant? Well, first and foremost, what you're going to want to do is make sure the person can pay. And I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes I see family-owned investors got their first piece of property and they find someone and they sell them a story and it's like, oh man, I really want to help this person out. You can't treat it like that. It's a business. So one of the best things they could do is, let's just say we're going to live in this hypothetical world and you're charging $1,000 a month for your rental. You're going to get somebody's application in and look through everything, and I require at least 6 months of pay stubs. And what I'm looking for is, if I'm renting it for $1,000, the person at the very minimum needs to be able to make $3,000 a month. Now, if it's you're renting a 2-bed or even a 1-bed to a couple, obviously you're going to accept multiple check stubs. Basically, the math is I look for 3 times the rent amount at the minimum. Then one way to really hedge yourself is if you're charging, let's say, $1,000 for a security deposit because your rent is $1,000. In the state of California, you can charge 2.5 times your rent for a security deposit, and I usually charge $2,000. And if it's furnished, you could charge up to 3 months rent, which is $3,000, and that's if you put a couch in there or a bed or whatever. But basic people, man, basic rule. If you're renting a regular unit, a house, what have you. 2 months rent for security deposit. If somebody can't come up with $2,000, they probably shouldn't be renting in the first place from you, right? That's one barrier. And then obviously if they're able to make at least 3 times the amount, 4 is amazing, but at least 3 times, that there's going to be a good chance that they're going to consistently pay. So those 2 things are done. Now let's say we get to the situation where life happens and they fall behind or whatever. What do you do? For my real estate investment firm, we really start issuing warnings right away and say, hey, 3-day pay or quit, or 10-day, whatever state you're in. We don't mess around because we're treating it like a business. Now, some of my own personal rental properties that I owned, it's a little bit different because it's a family operation. And I also look at the character of the person, and I'm not trying to be an evil guy. I say, hey, man, what's going on with you? Are you out of a job? What can we do? Can we work out a payment plan? We try to exercise those options before we just straight away 3-day pay or quit, ruthless, because the true reality is, guys, when it comes down to real estate investing, you're not going to make your money by getting the most amount of rent. You're not. And anyone that tells you that, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. You're going to make your most amount of money in real estate when you find a good, solid, quality tenant that's going to stay for at least 2 to 3 years. Because once you evict somebody, there comes a whole cost with the eviction. Now your unit is down for at least a month or 2 months, getting that person out. So that's 2 months of rent missed plus the rent that they already were behind. Then you got to put money into the unit to get it rent ready for the next person. That's the 4th cost. And then if you're hiring a management company, they're going to take the first month's rent. So now you're 5 months behind on rent. That's like 5 racks, minimum, probably 7 or 8, depending on how much damage was done to the unit or whatever, right? As you can see, the costs go up exponentially. So if you want to actually keep people, so if the rent was 1,000, I'd rather give it to somebody for 900 and say, well, can you make 900 and we'll just rewrite a contract to keep it at 900, because you don't want all these extra costs associated, right? But let's just say it gets to the point where the guy's like, screw you, I'm not paying because, whatever. And deep down, they're going through something in life. And, I don't judge anybody for not paying. That's life, right? This is business, that's life. So the first thing that you do, payment plan, that doesn't work, or try to lower rent a little bit to try to make it work, that doesn't work. Now you got to go through the whole process. In the state of California, you're going to file a 3-day pay or quit, and then you go ahead and go through the whole process, 30 days, then after the 30 days of that court junction's filed, if they don't appear to the court date or whatever, then, then you're going to be able to get your property back, in the sense of you'll win the lawsuit. You take that over to the sheriff's office. Sheriff office goes and stamps, hey, you got, I think, 14 days, get out. After the 14 days, you get your property back. During the whole vid, that was stopped, and a lot of people got screwed, and now evictions have piled up like crazy in California, and people are going to have to deal with it. So that's the process. And what you can do is literally file, or not file, but Google Eviction Services, eviction processing, and build a relationship with somebody local wherever you're investing, and work out a deal with them. And like for California, I pay about $750, and that covers all the costs, including the sheriff costs, court fees, everything. And that usually takes care of it. But what I have found in some situations, like when I did my first deal, there's a thing called cash for keys, and exactly it is what it sounds like. You give them cash and you get your keys back. So these contracts are written up. They're free. You can literally Google cash for keys contract, enter your state. You'll get that. You'll get that contract, and you sign it. You have the person living there sign it, and then you offer them maybe $1,000, $2,000. You get them the hell out, right? And obviously you don't give them the money until they get out. They have a contract that's binded. Maybe you give them 500 or whatever, and you get it out. And people are saying, that's crazy, bro. I can't believe you're paying somebody to leave when they owe you rent. Why don't you file the eviction and do? Guys, this is a business. Don't get emotional, right? I just explained to you in the beginning of this video all the costs that associate, like 3-4 months of rent you're gonna lose, the court fees you're gonna file. Pay the guy $2,000, have him get out, pay him $1,000, whatever you negotiate, have him get out. Say, hey, the month that you missed, forget about it, just get out, because I need to get this damn thing turned and rent it again. That's just part of the business. That has worked really well for me, as long as you don't come off as, a dick, right? And you're actually working with the tenant and saying, look, man, you got to sell it a little bit, right? Like, look, man, I don't want to file the eviction against you. I don't want this to go on your record. You're going to have to leave, whether if it's today or if it's a month from now, 3 months, it doesn't matter. So let me give you some cash. You get out, I get my property back, and, I'll chalk it up as a loss. And, it is what it is. And if they don't want to do that, and they're like, screw you, bro, yada, 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 then you Google the eviction processor, pay them the money, and you have to just unfortunately sit and wait. And that's really the process, guys. There's not really anything to it. And the reason why I wanted to make this video is, a few points. You have to understand that this is a part of the business, and this is why I hate those damn TikTok gurus that are like, oh, you get $100,000 house in the Midwest, and you're gonna get $1,000 a month, and your payment's $6, and your taxes and everything are $2, and you'll get $800 in fees, $1,000 in rent. You get to pocket the $200, $2,400 a year, and you only pay 20% to get down. You're gonna get 10% return. Wow, we're all gonna be rich. That's just not the reality of things. Real estate is no different than most businesses. You're playing a game of capital. You need to have capital on hand at all times in order to actually properly manage a unit. Liquidity is the absolute most important thing. So for a general rule of thumb, whatever your purchase price was of a unit, you need to have at least 3 to 5% of that purchase on hand all times in account. That's your oh shit fund. That's your fund for, quick repairs. That's your fund for dealing with the eviction process and, figuring it all out. it is always going to be a capital game and has always been a capital game. And really, real estate, it's like a lot of businesses, like you're not going to make money off the rip, man. You're going to make money after holding it for about 10 years when the original rents were 1,000 and you struggled and you had a couple of evictions and you had a couple of unit turns. You're like, oh my God, why did I get into this? But then a decade, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you're like, oh shit, the rents are now $1,500. My debt stayed the same. Now I'm actually making some money. Oh shit, the value of the place that I bought for 100 went up to 150. I could refinance, pull $20,000-$30,000 out. That gets spread out, plus the rent you collected. Bam, now you're doing beautiful. Now you have a property you can pass down generation to generation. That's the true power of real estate. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. A matter of fact, most people that buy real estate don't make money until like year 10. That's some shit that people just aren't going to tell you that are on, TikTok or Instagram that are saying, buy stuff with no money down or whatever. That's just not the reality of things. But there's a process to go through with evictions. There's a process for everything. And if you want to get into real estate investing, you just have to realize you're not going to make money overnight. It's going to be a long time. And I promise you, it is most likely going to be a good investment. It just takes time. Just like how you were to put $1,000 into a savings account or the 20 grand you put to buy a $100,000, investment property, it's going to take time for that money to grow. But real estate, it really comes down to more advantages because of the tax advantages that you get and the tax breaks you get. So you got to add all that stuff up. Do not let evictions scare you. Don't let, these crazy stories about, people having a horrible time scare you. Anything you do, any type of business you do is going to have risk. Those types of risks, like evictions, like someone damaging your unit, are just part of the game. And if you want to play the game and you want to have wealth, these are the headaches you're going to have to take. Now, the one big difference is this. If you own a restaurant, you got to be there every single goddamn day to make money. If you own real estate, I'm sitting in Dallas right now. This rental is in California. Okay, I'm just going through the process. I'm not really stressing about it. It's not taking more than a few emails of my time and a few phone calls to my handyman after to get it repaired. I pay the money, I get a new renter, and boom, we're back in business. That's the real power is no matter what, I know in the long run I'm going to win. And you got to have that mentality in everything you do. You cannot think short term. That's why I hate the buy, flip now stuff. Real money in any investment, in any business is made, through time. And if you're not willing to put in the time and at least address the situations and actually hold for up to a decade, up to 20 years, you're playing the wrong game. You're better off just putting it into some index fund and just chilling if you don't want the risk. But real reward comes with time. Real rewards come with risk associated with it. Anyways, I hope this kind of helped. If you guys didn't know anything about the process, if you're thinking about getting your first property or whatever, it's real, So drop a comment if you have questions. DM me if you have questions. We could talk. And, have confidence, guys. In the long run, real estate is going to pay off great. It's created more millionaires than any other asset class. You get 5-to-1 leverage on usually fixed debt for 4 units and under. And even on the 5 units and above, dude, you're still going to crush it. You just got to start. Don't let these crazy stories and, oh my God, we're not going to make any money for the first 5 years, whatever, scare you. It's just going to take time. It's like everything else in life. It's going to take time. And as long as you're willing to put in the time and you have that long time horizon for investments, you're going to do freaking fantastic. Don't stress out about it. Everything is going to come in time. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, save it. I think that helps the algorithm. Shit, I don't know. Definitely share it with a friend. Like it and shit. Put a comment. I don't care if it's like fire emojis or whatever. Help me grow this page. Appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.